Greetings, and thank you for coming. Welcome back to HFY Storytime, where I narrate HFY short stories. On the grill today, we have a twofer. First up, we have Speed, followed by Feel, both by user Alpha Sierra Charlie. Original links are in the video description. Please check them out and give the author some love. And while we're at it, take a moment to head over to Patreon and check me out over there. Consider becoming a supporter and help keep my editor energized with pizza and beer. Now then, before we dive in, let me take a quick moment to give a shout out to my Tier 3 and 4 patrons: Russ of the Frozen North, Neu5AC, Nick, Zachary Langmead, Scared Wolf 1206, and Zachery Raney. Thank you very much. And if you hear anything in the background, that's just me boiling a chicken for tonight's dinner. And without any further ado, let's get into the stories. Speed, by user Alpha Sierra Charlie. The Doomsman sat behind his desk, face tendrils slack in bewilderment.
I must state for the record, and for your personal appreciation, Mr. Rapide, that this case is being conducted in closed session and without standard protocols because of the unprecedented degree of your potentially criminal, deeds.
Jimmy opened his mouth, his advocate elbowing him gently, and the Doomsman continued.
But the encroachment of the Balstock Raiders are a mitigating circumstance. This, and the fact that you saved lives by your actions, is why you are being granted the privilege of a trial at all, given the degree of property and other damages you incurred.
Jimmy opened his mouth again. His advocate elbowed him less gently. Jimmy closed his mouth and looked both bored and impugned.
What is Mr. Rapide's rating, and what are his responsibilities? The Doomsman asked the shipping company representative.
Hull technician, Your Honor, and first class, Jimmy interjected, receiving another elbow and giving it right back.
Yes,
hull technician first class. His responsibilities are the maintenance and repair of the hull and structure of company ships, up to and including full fabrication while in flight. He's highly certified in EVA, microgravity, and vacuum welding and fabrication, and repair drone control. Do his duties include repair or modifications to drive systems?
No, Your Honor.
Jimmy opened his mouth again, and his advocate kicked him in the shin.
State for the record, in your own words, Mr. Rapide, the Doomsman commanded, turning to Jimmy, what you did. Please, go into detail.
Well, I knew them raiders were coming, right? And the Navy weren't nowheres near, so we needed to go. It was going to take a couple 3 days to get everyone aboard and fueled up and ready to go, and I figured we'd need to haul ass if we was going to have a chance to get away. So I scratched up some electromagnets and controllers, some wiring, some structural steel, and fitted up the engine like me and my cousin did to his old hot rods back in Seoul. The room was silent. Would you please state for the record, the Doomsman asked the court's propulsion expert, what Mr. Rapide did? Yes, Your Honor. He cannibalized the station's cargo mass driver and grafted it onto the ship's fusion bell drive, converting it into a makeshift plasma spike drive. Essentially, a fusion-powered railgun that shot low relativistic plasma as a thrust medium. To say it was improvised would do a disservice to the term, except that it managed to work exceptionally well, other than the fact that it could not be switched off.
Were these the only modifications? The Doomsman prompted.
No. He also fabricated a giant shield and a feed mechanism to launch nuclear mining charges into the plasma stream, melting the interlocks and detonating them. Spike drives got shit acceleration, Jimmy yelled, taking another elbow to the ribs and returning it. You gotta give it a push to get started, or you'll never get it going. Jimmy's advocate tried to cover Jimmy's mouth and got bit. That's why I built the Orion drive, to help the ion engines get us up to speed. The room was silent again. Jimmy's advocate put his head on the table and covered it with his hands. Jimmy and the Doomsman looked at each other, still silent. It worked. You cut a research station in half with your drive plume. That? Yeah, that was accident. The feed mechanism put the nukes a little off-center when they detonated. Besides, it was fully evacuated.
You illegally detonated 17 nuclear devices within irradiation distance of habitats, leaving 3 of them uninhabitable.
They were also fully evacuated, and I gave those raiders cancer. Thank you very, very much. Jimmy's advocate looked up at the ceiling. He might be able to change his name and practice law on the frontier. You have single-handedly, irrevocably altered the system's 50-year economic plan, devastated the habitability of the Moon-Clear surface and orbit for decades, if not centuries, and racked up a conservative estimate of 3.6 trillion credits in property damage. How do you plead? Guilty of saving 8,796 innocent lives. The doomsman locked eyes with Jimmy. Jimmy's advocate hardly dared to breathe. The corporate lawyer thought about how to bleed the situation dry. In light of the situation and lives saved, I pronounce the following doom. Jimmy Rapide is not guilty of criminal behavior due to grievous threat to the lives of numerous valuable citizens. Jimmy smiled. His advocate thought he was having a stroke. Everyone else was wondering about who this president was going to screw. However, I must express my concern about his cavalier attitude towards improvisation of highly destructive energetic systems and must caution him that future episodes of this nature will likely have a different outcome. I would also like to congratulate him on breaking the mid-system to Oort Cloud transit time record. Your ship is officially the fastest self-propelled object in system history. Case adjourned. Story 2. By Feel. Also by Alpha Sierra Charlie.
Pull me a stiff one, bartender, and don't skimp on the refined hydrocarbons either. Long day? Long couple of years. I just got done writing up my reports on the acceptance review for the new species. Oh, this is a good drink. No, they aren't FTL capable yet. Most applicants aren't, but most people don't know that. The most common requirement for acceptance is high-functioning and minimally obtrusive cybernetic augmentations, or a stable general AI. We thought they'd done the former. Pull me another, please, and thank you. Yes, open a tab. Excellent suggestion. So, anyways, these humans. When we first discovered them, they had a well-developed information-based economy and were establishing a permanent settlement on their natural satellite. Typically, this means that their cybernetics are fairly well advanced and are in general use in the population. Covert observation of their activities seemed to confirm this. After watching them for a few years, we'd had enough data and made what we thought was a culturally appropriate first contact. Yeah, it went as badly as they always do. This time we got a cease and desist from an entity called Disney, though this is a first. They were upset at first, knowing that we had been snooping on them for so long, which is understandable and expected. But once we explained a little history, they were understanding. Then we asked to examine their cybernetics. Hit me with another, a little more benzene in this one. Did you know that humans use hydrocarbons to power vehicles and other electrical and mechanical devices? They consume ethanol to get the same effect we get from hydrocarbons. Yeah, really weird. Oh, they also use ethanol as vehicular fuel too, usually in contests of speed. Anyways, they were more than happy to accommodate our requests and took us to a research facility and showed up some of the crudest contraptions we'd ever seen. They couldn't even be classified as cybernetics under Confederation law. They were confused. We were confused. I just found the bottom of this glass, and we began one of the strangest acceptance reviews in history. Turns out they were able to build a complex pre-orbital civilization using only their natural neural architecture. Oh, of course they had computers, fairly advanced ones too, especially the hacking and security capabilities. But their brains were unaugmented. We observed them for years, and they're going to explode into galactic economy just by being paid research subjects because they can do things that just shouldn't be possible without cybernetic augmentations. One of their government services, the Coast Guard, was performing search and rescue operation in one of their oceans, in bad weather, with poor visibility.
A VTOL aircraft pilot kept his craft completely stationary over a heaving sea and hard winds and heavy precipitation for several minutes while survivors were rescued. He wasn't using the craft's instrumentation because his reaction times were actually faster than his central nervous system could gather and process the information, much less act on it. This level of performance is expected of these pilots. A contestant in a marksmanship challenge consisting of using rapid chemical oxidization to expel projectiles was able to predictably impact targets at great distances. No, they had to account for the lift created by the projectile's spin and the fact that the entire planet was rotating a meaningful amount while the projectile was in flight. That kind of distance. No homing systems. Anyways, there were a lot of equations based on gathering data, but there were too many unsolvable variables to simply calculate a successful shot. She simply did what math she could, looked at the remaining variables, yes, as in visually checked, and still placed accurate shots. A feat that only the most capable snipers with the most advanced cybernetics in the Confederation Special Forces are capable of. A chef preparing meals to perfection by hand without chemical analysis with unparalleled speed. A surgeon performing emergency thoracic surgery with a minimal amount of imaging and no AI assistance, keeping his patient alive seemingly through sheer luck. And the sports? Yes, pour me another one, thank you. They're sports. You know they ride animals in some of their sports and drive vehicles at ludicrous speed. Several of them involve one of them throwing an object, another one hitting it with a stick, and a third catching it. Then there's skiing, archery, and several things that involve strapping metal blades to their feet to propel themselves across frozen water. I know. How do they do all those things without enhanced cognition? Well, eventually all of their answers boiled down to one common thing. They did these things by feel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been Speed and By Feel, both by user Alpha Sierra Charlie. I hope you enjoyed listening to them as much as I enjoyed bringing them to you. If you did, please go ahead and smash those like and subscribe buttons, drop us a comment down below, and maybe share the video. Every little bit helps, and maybe help expand the channel. And as always, a huge shout out to my editor Gregor, and a huge apology as well, because, well, another mangled mess. Because, well, I'm tongue-tied, as always. Okay, question, who's got the question? So, what is your favorite sitcom? Leave your answers in the comments down below. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love y'all. Bye-bye. Wake up! Why are you sleeping? We must do the thing. Wake up!